writing, there are various techniques you can use to make your stories better. You may say, that's great, but why do I need these skills if I'm not going to be an author?
Well, how do you start conversations?
And then she got to class with only 2 apples left.
This doesn't work because you haven't defined who she is, nor have you said why she is going to class with apples. To keep your readers, or in real life, listeners, engaged, you need to establish characters and context.
Did you hear? Natasha, the girl in our science class, was told by her mom to bring apples to each of her teachers. However, she tripped and 3 apples fell on the ground. So when she got to class, she only had 2 apples left.
Now we know who she is and what she was doing with the apples. We know the context. Now your story makes sense, but your friend may still not be interested. And even if you're not telling a story and you're just describing something, you need to use things like sensory words and figurative language. You want to be as descriptive and precise as possible with lots of details.
So this puppy was so cute and smaller than a teddy bear. He was chocolate colored and had an eggshell white spot over his eye. He smelled like mud, but his affinity for people was shown by his tail wagging as fast as lightning.
This appeals to the senses with sight and smell and uses figurative language. You may also want to include dialogue for the story to be more interesting.
So then Billy said, "Oh no." And then Sarah said, "That's exactly what I said."
Now you may have seen a plot diagram before for stories that starts with the exposition, or the beginning, goes to the rising action, then the climax, then the falling action, then the resolution, or ending. But did you know that all stories need this, even in the small ones you tell your friends?
So I was really mad at my boyfriend Monday morning. I spent all morning talking to friends about how stressful he was. At noon, I confronted him, and I broke up with him. I spent the afternoon feeling better and de-stressing. That night, I deleted him from my contacts and I went out with friends.
Now that story is missing the description and dialogue to make it interesting, but see how it followed the structure? Make sure the pacing is proper too. You don't want it to go too fast or drag out, and this helps the proper development of the story. Also notice how the conclusion makes sense. You want your resolution to be logical, based on what events happened prior. Also, be sure to use transition words, like these, to link settings or events. It helps you tell what order things happen in. They signal shifts between settings and events. Consider this.
I had a normal day today. Breakfast was normal, lunch was normal, dinner was normal.
Boring, right? Your story has to have some sort of conflict as well. It can't all be normal. Would you like your friend telling you a story like that? Lastly, there are 2 types of characters, static and dynamic. Everybody in real life is dynamic. As you grow up, you notice that both you and your friends change. In your stories, it's the same. If your characters aren't dynamic and don't change, then it won't be interesting or realistic.
Now if you sat here thinking, I already do all those things in my conversations, well, then that's fantastic. Just apply those techniques to your stories and your writing will be great in no time.